Hi, I'm Chris Burns from Techie Gurus, and today I just want to talk a little bit about Colonial Pipeline, our favorite gift that keeps on giving in the cybersecurity community, and what it means for your business, what it means for everything else. So let's just break down the timeline, shall we? On May 7th at 5:30 a.m., Colonial Pipeline was hit with a cyber attack. Joseph Blunt, the CEO, got with the executive team. They decided to shut down everything, including the pipeline, even though they weren't sure how deep the cyber attack went. So they got a ransomware request. It was a ransom. It was $4.4 million, and they chose to pay it the same day. They then notified CISA and the FBI, and they both got involved, and they came away and said that the group DarkSide, who's been doing ransomware and ransoming for a little over a year, they were responsible. Cool. So what happened is they actually extracted 100 gigabytes of data from Colonial before actually initiating the ransomware attack. So, and then they threatened to leak it, of course, because that's what they do now. They just extort you after twice, right? So if you don't pay the ransom, they'll just leak your data. So that's pretty much where we're at. The DC Police Department just had the same issue. So that's the way it is today. That's the lay of the landscape, right? So it took until May 12th to turn the pipeline back on. So meanwhile, people are out there doing crazy things like filling plastic bags and bins and jugs with gasoline and then putting them in the back of their car. I can't remember if it was Florida or whatnot, but somebody's Hummer burned to the ground because of something like that. So people went crazy. They wanted cheaper gas. They were scared about how high it was going to go, and they did illogical things, and it caused harm. So let's move on. The Associated Press actually released an article that detailed Colonial Pipeline having an audit done in 2017. It took about 6 months. In January 2018, they got the report delivered to them. And let's just dive into this just for a little bit. It basically said their security is crap. They found deficiencies, big problems, and this is the best quote about this whole thing, an 8th grader could have hacked them. Now, Colonial, they claim since then they've hired 4 cybersecurity firms. They spent tens of millions of dollars, and that's great. That's great. You spent money. Cool. What did you spend the money on? Because clearly it wasn't the right money. It doesn't mean you've actually done anything right if you spend money. You have to do the right things. You have to hire the right people. You have to put the right services and technology and processes in place in cybersecurity. So here's the big problem. Because they're not under the electrical utilities industry, the pipeline industry isn't subject to the same mandatory cybersecurity standards that the electrical industry falls under. Well, that's going to change, and Colonial Pipeline will be the poster child for this. So let's move on to the Wallstreet Journal article. So the Wallstreet Journal this week interviewed Joseph Blunt, the CEO, and he admitted again, this is where the $4.4 million ransom came from. He admitted to paying it. Cool, you admitted to paying a ransom, just like everybody else these days. So he said it was a controversial decision. They paid it because they weren't sure how deep the cyber attack was, how far they were breached, and you know what? We just wanted to get the pipeline back online. Cool, so you paid $4.4 million for that on May 7th. Let's keep that in mind, May 7th. They paid 75 Bitcoin, which at the time Bitcoin was higher. Yesterday it crashed. There you go. It's probably coming back now. But so they got the decryption tool. Cool. They actually did what they said they were going to do. They gave them the decryption tool. The problem was the decryption tool, because of the havoc that had been wreaked by the ransomware, it didn't really work. They couldn't restore all their systems. In fact, they're actually saying that their systems might not be completely up for months. Now, the pipeline came back on May 12th because that's part of their operational technology instead of their information technology. So that system came back online. They're still working through trying to get their normal systems back online for day-to-day stuff like billing and things like that. So keep in mind, that's down the road. And they think they're going to spend tens of millions of dollars trying to fix that. On top of the fact they've already paid the ransom and all the bad publicity and things like that. So this is where it gets real interesting, though. Mr. Blunt said, quote, "We did this because it was the right thing to do for the country." And this is where I get angry. This is where I get really pissed off about this. No, Mr. Blunt, this wasn't about the country. This wasn't about what was best for the country, because if it was what was best for the country, you would have had a proper cybersecurity program. You would have been able to go in there and detect and respond to attacks before this happened. When you had that audit done in 2017 that said an 8th grader could hack you, and you claimed to have spent tens of millions of dollars to fix it, if you would have spent tens of millions of dollars to actually fix the problem, you would have been able to detect and respond to that much quicker. So no, I don't take that as that to me is a ridiculous statement. But, he goes on to finish it off with, the real cost was the loss of their anonymity. And I'm like, okay. And then we were perfectly happy living when no one knew who Colonial Pipeline was. But unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. Everyone in the world knows. Well, yeah. Congratulations. You made the news everywhere. So this is the type of behavior that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous in a couple of senses. One, the insurance companies have been paying the ransoms for so long, and companies have been paying ransoms for so long, that the average ransom is now up over $300,000. It used to be, $20,000, $10,000. Now it's over $300,000. It's so bad that AXA is a large insurance company in the UK, or in the EU, and they just announced that in France, they're no longer going to write cyber liability policies that pay the extortion costs for ransomware. So guess what? It's on you. It's on you, the business owner, or you, the business, to pay that. So in this case, we'll go back to Colonial real quick. Let's say they had cyber liability insurance. Let's say the cyber liability insurance policy would pay the $4.4 million. In France, if you're just getting one now, they're not going to pay that. Now, they'll help you cover some of the costs of bringing in forensics experts and cybersecurity experts and things like that, but they're not going to pay the ransom. Okay, so what happens? Can you pay the $4.4 million ransom? If the answer is no, what are you going to do? How are you going to raise that capital? Is the business going to go under? So for so long, we've relied on insurance to transfer that risk to insurance, to let them pay that. That's going to change. Do you think AXA, if you think AXA is the first company that's going to do, is going to be the last company that's going to do this? No, you're mistaken. I'd be shocked, because if this doesn't come to the United States, shocked. So now you have another problem on your hands. Even if you go out and get that fancy insurance policy, which you should have, by the way, what happens if they choose not to pay the ransom? What happens if you just decide that, you know what, I'm not going to do everything I said in here. I'm just going to check the boxes. They're never going to check. And then they come in here and they decide not to pay it. So keep that in mind. That was a big change this week as well. So let's just kind of glean some other stuff off of what happened with Colonial. I know I'm a little bit all over the board, but they didn't have a cybersecurity program. And if they did, it was terrible, right? I'll go back to detect and respond. Any good cybersecurity program, especially in a company that size with that much revenue, they should be able to detect and respond very quickly to those types of incidences, right? Ransomware is something that, if you're properly secured, if everything is on your network is properly secured, you have segmentation between networks, you have all the tools in place, you have a team in place, sure, ransomware can get in your business. It will get in your business, but the impact will be minimized, right? Maybe it only gets a couple of systems on your network, but it doesn't get everything. Clearly, they had nothing in place. They had no idea the attack was taking place. The attack, they were able to steal 100 gigs of information before they even started the ransom. So there's no excuse for that. None. Small businesses right now, we have a lot of stuff that we can do that we can help protect you, but a large business like that has no excuse. None. It's infuriating to listen to a guy talk so bluntly and say, well, we're not anonymous anymore. That's what I'm upset about. You should be upset that you had people out there doing stupid stuff with gas because you didn't want to take the responsibility, because you put profits over your cybersecurity. That's what you should be upset about, that you didn't take responsibility for your company, that you didn't take responsibility for the cybersecurity in your company. All I think about right now is all the financial stuff that happened with WorldCom and Enron, and how that changed laws and regulations and things like that. If they don't think that's changing now, they're sorely mistaken. This needs to change. If you're critical infrastructure in the United States, you should absolutely be under standards. And the pipeline industry isn't. Oh, it will be. Well, as soon as people in Congress stop fighting, maybe they'll get that done. So, I'm not here to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD is what a lot of people call it. I want to give you guys hope. I want to give everybody hope. Because honestly, at the end of the day, you can reduce your risk. You can limit the impact of an attack. Because it's going to happen. Somebody's going to click on an email. Something's going to happen where you're going to have a vulnerability in a software piece. And something's going to lead to some sort of threat actor, hacker, whatever you want to call them, getting in your network and doing something crazy. But if you take the time now to get a good cybersecurity program in your business, and you hire the right people, you hire the right companies to help you do that, you can minimize that impact. You can reduce your risk. Now, here's what you can't do. You can't do nothing. It's time to wake up and take action. Stop throwing out lame excuses. Stop saying, I'm not going to be attacked. I'm too small to be attacked. Nobody wants my stuff. Blah, 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 blah. That's all BS. Let's be real. That's BS. You can tell yourself that, but it's not going to help you. So, take an action, right? You want to talk to us? That's our mission. Our mission is to help as many businesses as we possibly can reduce their risk, reduce their cybersecurity risk. Make sure that their business is there tomorrow if they do get attacked. Make sure that you don't have to pay a ransom. That's what we're here for. That's why 3 years ago I started changing my company from being a managed IT company to being more like a managed security company. It takes an army to help people. It takes a village to help people. We want to be part of yours. So it's time to wake up, take action. And if you want to take action, you can go to our website. I'll link it down below. You can add me on LinkedIn. I'll link that down below as well. You can camp outside my office. Just don't do it outside my house. That's kind of weird, stalking. You can use some sort of public registry and find my cell phone, because I'm sure it's out there, because I've used my cell phone in places like, probably shouldn't have, but you know what? It's probably out there. I get enough spam calls and smishing text messages and everything like that. So I don't really care how you do it, but take action to protect your business, your livelihood, your family's livelihood, and the livelihood of everybody that works for you. And with that, I got nothing left to say. So until next week, be safe and have a good week.